They mocked human sounds. Then discovered it was Magic Admiral Tessa Reynolds stands rigid in the vast crystal chamber of the Galactic Council, her weathered uniform stark against the swirling nebula visible through the transparent floor beneath her boots. 53 alien species representatives observe from ascending tiers, their murmurs creating a discordant symphony. The 7 high counselors, each representing a coalition of star nations, loom on elevated platforms, their expressions ranging from curiosity to undisguised contempt. Humanity, announces High Counselor Vexamora, the Arthadian diplomat whose exoskeleton gleams with bioluminescent status markers, stands accused of violating Ordinance 7219, unauthorized manipulation of fundamental cosmic forces. Reynolds glances at the human delegation behind HFY War Dr. Marcus Wade, Earth's foremost physicist, Ambassador Darius Okafor, the diplomatic corps' most skilled negotiator, and Lieutenant Amara Patel, whose enhanced hearing catches every whispered aside from the gallery. They were supposed to be finalizing Earth's admission to the Galactic Confederation after 80 years of preparation. Instead, they face potential quarantine or worse, planetary restriction barriers. The evidence, continues Vexamora, activating a holographic display, was recorded at the Proxima Centauri outpost 3 standard cycles ago. The recording shows 4 human engineers repairing a quantum communication array. As they work, they do something utterly ordinary to them but apparently shocking to the assembly. They sing, a simple work song, harmonizing as they align the delicate equipment. What happens next explains the Council's alarm. The malfunctioning array not only repairs itself but begins operating at 137% efficiency, theoretically impossible by known physics. Humans have concealed weaponized abilities, declares Counselor Drez's Tull of the Silicon Consciousness, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of suspicion. These songs manipulate quark resonance at the subatomic level. We have confirmed 17 instances across 3 sectors. Reynolds exchanges a bewildered glance with Dr. Wade. Humanity has no idea what they're talking about. The penalty for concealing forbidden technologies during admission proceedings, Vexamora states coldly, is immediate quarantine and potential sterilization of all human outposts beyond Sol. Ambassador Okafor steps forward. High Council, we request time to investigate these allegations. Humans have always made sounds, music, speech, songs. It's cultural, not technological. The gallery erupts in mocking laughter. Cultural, scoffs Counselor Zyvex of the Meridian Alliance, whose species communicates exclusively through pheromones. Next, they'll claim their respiratory expulsions are simply biological functions rather than targeted atmospheric manipulation. Reynolds watches the faces of the Council members, noticing something crucial. Not anger or fear, but envy, mixed with a distinct wariness. They don't understand what humans are doing, because they physically can't do it themselves. We propose a demonstration, Reynolds announces suddenly, causing Okafor to look at her in alarm. Right here before the Council. The chamber falls silent. You wish to perform forbidden manipulations in the sacred Council chamber? Vexamora's voice carries genuine shock. If what we're doing is manipulation at all, Reynolds counters, shouldn't you understand exactly what you're judging? Unless, of course, the Council fears what it doesn't comprehend, the calculated risk challenging their courage. But Reynolds has noticed how the counselors reacted to the recording. They're not just concerned, they're fascinated. High Counselor Taloran of the Ancient Worlds leans forward, compound eyes glittering with interest. The human makes a valid point. Knowledge before judgment. Proceda Rios, but be warned. Any hostile action will result in immediate neutralization. Defense fields shimmer around the Council members as Reynolds nods to Lieutenant Patel. The young officer steps forward, visibly nervous but determined. This is a lullaby my grandmother taught me, she explains, then begins to sing. Her voice, clear and pure, fills the chamber with a simple melody about stars and dreams. As she sings, instruments throughout the chamber begin registering energy fluctuations. The nebula visible below swirls in time with her voice. When she reaches the final verse, the lights throughout the chamber pulse gently, perfectly synchronized with her song. Counselor Drestel's crystalline form vibrates in alarm. The human is manipulating quantum fields across 19 dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Wade stares at the readings in disbelief. That's impossible. Reynolds sees their opportunity. Perhaps, she says carefully, humanity has more to offer the Galactic Confederation than we realized, and perhaps there are aspects of the universe that the Confederation has yet to understand. The chamber erupts in chaos as the High Counselors confer urgently. Reynolds turns to her team, her voice low. I don't understand what just happened, but I know a bargaining chip when I see one. Bexamora silences the chamber with a gesture. The council will recess for deliberation. The human delegation will remain under observation. This matter requires deeper investigation. As the counselors depart, Reynolds catches Taloran studying them with ancient, calculating eyes. The ancient. One doesn't look afraid. They look like a scientist who has just discovered a fascinating new phenomenon. What just happened? Okafor whispers. I don't know, Reynolds answers, watching the aliens disperse, many casting backward glances at the humans. But I think we just changed the balance of power in the galaxy without firing a shot. Lieutenant Patel looks shaken. Sir, I just sang my grandmother's lullaby. Apparently, Dr. Wade murmurs, studying the still fluctuating readings. Your grandmother knew something the entire galaxy doesn't. Back in their temporary quarters within the massive space station that houses the council chambers, the human delegation gathers to make sense of what happened. We need to understand what they think we're doing, Okafor says, pacing the room. They're treating simple human vocalizations like some kind of reality warping technology. Dr. Wade projects his findings onto the wall. According to these readings, Lieutenant Patel's singing created harmonic wave patterns that somehow resonated with quantum fields. The effect was similar to what specialized equipment does, but more elegant, more complete. But humans have been singing for our entire history, Reynolds argues. If this were some kind of power, wouldn't we have noticed by now? Patel, who has been quiet since the demonstration, speaks up. Maybe we did notice, just not scientifically. She hesitates. Think about it. Every human culture has legends about words of power, magical incantations, songs that can heal or harm. What if those weren't just stories? Wade shakes his head. That's a tremendous leap. From folk tales to quantum manipulation? Is it? Reynolds challenges. We've been exploring space for less than 2 centuries. Most of these species have been spacefaring for millennia. Maybe they understand aspects of reality we've dismissed as superstition. A soft chime interrupts them. The door slides open to reveal a tall, slender alien with blue-tinged skin and 6 digits on each hand. An Eloran scholar, recognizable by the knowledge crystals embedded in their forehead. I am Nexel, the alien says, voice melodious and precisely modulated. I have been assigned as your liaison during this investigation. The High Council requests additional demonstrations of your capabilities. Okafor steps forward. We're still unclear about what capabilities we're supposed to have. Perhaps you could enlighten us? Nexel tilts their head, large eyes blinking slowly. You truly don't know? They sound genuinely surprised. Your species manipulates vibrational energy through vocal resonance. You create living mathematics with your sounds. Living mathematics? Wade repeats. What you call singing or speaking creates patterns that directly influence quantum probability, Nexel explains. Most species require extensive technology to achieve even a fraction of what your lieutenant accomplished with a simple lullaby. Reynolds exchanges glances with her team. And this is why the council is concerned? Concerned? Nexel's skin shifts to a lighter shade. Admiral, half the council is terrified and the other half is calculating how to weaponize you. No species has demonstrated this ability without millennia of technological development. The idea that it comes naturally to humans is disturbing to many. Patel frowns. But it's just sound. It doesn't even affect anything on Earth. Earth, Nexel says carefully, has unique properties. Your planet's magnetic field, atmosphere, and geological composition likely dampen these effects. In space, especially near certain energy fields, your vocalizations have much stronger impacts. Wade's eyes widen with sudden understanding. The quantum communication array. It was already designed to respond to specific frequencies. The engineer's song must have created a resonance pattern that reconfigured its operational parameters. Nexel finishes. Yes. What your species treats as entertainment, most civilizations consider advanced technology. The Council wants to know if this is deliberate deception or genuine ignorance. It's not deception, Reynolds says firmly, but I'm starting to think our ignorance might be our greatest protection. If we didn't know what we could do, then you couldn't be feared for it, Nexel concludes. A wise observation, Admiral. They pause. The first formal hearing begins tomorrow. I suggest you prepare carefully. The decision, They mocked human sounds, then discovered it was magic part. The second hearing chamber is smaller than the grand hall where the initial accusations were made, but no less imposing. 12 senior representatives from various council races sit in a semicircle, their attention fixed on Dr. Marcus Wade as he conducts his demonstration. This is a simple vibration test, Wade explains, activating a device that projects sound waves in visible patterns above a central table. Every species uses something similar to analyze structural integrity. He speaks clearly, precisely, and the patterns dancing above the table suddenly shift, becoming more complex, more vibrant. Several council scientists lean forward, recording instruments whirring. As you can see, Wade continues, pretending not to notice their reaction. Human speech creates standard acoustic patterns. Nothing unusual. Nothing unusual. The Meridian scientist Tuvix rises from his seat. His species resembles upright felines with 6 limbs and mottled fur. Doctor, you just unconsciously restructured a basic sine wave into a 7th-dimensional probability matrix. With words alone, Wade feigns confusion. I'm afraid I don't understand. This is simply how humans communicate. Admiral Reynolds watches from the observer section, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Wade is playing his part perfectly, projecting honest confusion while demonstrating exactly what the Council fears. The ignorant humans strategy they'd devised is working. Their Ellerin liaison, Nexel, sits beside Reynolds, voice low. Your physicist performs well, but several council members remain deeply skeptical, particularly Representative Gorn. Reynolds follows Nexel's gaze to a hulking creature with leathery gray skin and eyes that burn with unmistakable hostility. The Vorax representative hasn't spoken during the proceedings, but his species is known for military aggression, and they control a significant portion of the defensive fleet. The council is divided. Nexel continues. Some see potential benefits in human abilities. Others see only threats. And which side is winning? Reynolds asks. Nexel's skin shifts to a darker blue. Neither, which makes your situation precarious. At the demonstration table, Wade has moved on to actual singing, a simple scale that creates cascading ripples through the monitoring equipment. The scientist's excitement is palpable. This is remarkable, says a Tellurian observer, whose gaseous body swirls with agitation inside its containment suit. The harmonic patterns create spontaneous organization at the quantum level, something our civilization has sought for generations. Precisely why such power cannot be left unregulated. Gorn finally speaks, voice like grinding stones. The humans do not understand what they wield. They are children playing with stellar detonators. Ambassador Okafor steps forward. With respect, Representative Gorn, we've used these abilities throughout our history without causing harm. Perhaps the danger exists only in how they might be exploited. Gorn's massive head swivels toward Okafor. You speak of exploitation while your kind already uses these powers on Proxima Centauria, a system bordering Vorax territory. Coincidence? Reynolds tenses. The Vorax are looking for a military threat, and finding it whether it exists or not. The head scientist, a feline with translucent skin that reveals the complex organs beneath, raises a spindly hand. Perhaps we should examine this ability more thoroughly. Volunteers might submit to detailed physiological analysis. Dissection, you mean? Lieutenant Patel mutters beside Reynolds. Reynolds stands. The delegation would welcome scientific collaboration, But humans are not specimens for experimentation. We came seeking partnership, not subjugation. Bold words for a species facing judgment, Gorn rumbles. Not judgment, corrects Taloran, the Ancient One who has been silently observing. Understanding. This ability the humans possess, it is not unknown to my kind. We have legends, ancient ones, of a time when many species wielded what we called voice shaping. The chamber falls silent. The Ancient Ones rarely speak of their prehistory. You've encountered this before? Okafor asks carefully. Not I. But my ancestors, 100,000 years ago, recorded encounters with beings who sang reality into new patterns. Taloran's compound eyes reflect the chamber lights. They called them the Shapers. They vanished during the Great Collapse. Are you suggesting humans are these Shapers? The Phelan scientist sounds skeptical. I suggest nothing, Taloran replies. I merely observe patterns across time. The session continues for hours, with Wade demonstrating increasingly complex vocal effects, while maintaining the pretense that humans consider this completely normal. Reynolds observes the council members carefully, noting which ones show fear, which show interest, and which show calculation. When they return to their quarters, Reynolds calls an immediate strategy session. The Ancient One gave us an opening. She begins once the room is secure. If this voice shaping was once widespread, then we're not a unique threat. We're a rediscovery of something the galaxy once knew. Or we're connected to a long-vanished race that potentially caused something called the Great Collapse. Okafor counters. Not exactly reassuring. We need more information, Wade says. Everything about these Shapers, the Great Collapse and why voice shaping disappeared. Patel, who has been unusually quiet, speaks up. I've been experimenting. She gestures to several small objects floating above her palm, unknown, a pen, a data chip, a small metal sphere. It's not just singing, it's intention. When I focus on what I want while making specific sounds, the objects begin orbiting her hand in a complex pattern. The others stare in astonishment. How long have you been able to do this? Okafor asks. Since yesterday, Patel admits. After the first hearing, I started trying to reproduce what happened. It's getting easier each time. Wade approaches, scanning the floating objects with a handheld device. The quantum fields around these are being directly manipulated. You're creating a localized probability bubble where normal physical laws are flexible. Magic, Reynolds says softly. They think we're doing magic because by their understanding we are. A chime at their door interrupts them. Patel quickly drops the floating objects as Nexil enters, looking agitated. There's been a development, the Aloran says without preamble. A Vorax patrol near your colony on Europa reports that human miners singing in the ice tunnels accidentally triggered a resonance cascade. A section of ice destabilized, revealing an ancient structure beneath. What kind of structure? Reynolds asks, suddenly alert. Unknown, but it bears markings similar to ancient artifacts are possibly connected to the Shapers Taloran mentioned. Nexil's skin has turned almost white. Gorn is calling it proof that humans are deliberately seeking forbidden technology. He's petitioned for immediate military intervention in your solar system. That's absurd, Okafor exclaims. We've been mining Europa for decades. Any discovery would be pure coincidence. Coincidence or not, the council is split. Nexil looks genuinely concerned. You have 12 hours before they vote on Gorn's petition. If it passes, the Confederation fleet will establish a quarantine perimeter around your entire system. After Nexil leaves, the delegation sits in stunned silence. We need to contact Earth, Reynolds finally says. Warn them what's coming. The council monitors all communications, Okafor reminds her. They'll interpret any warning as proof we're hiding something. We need leverage, Wade says. Something the council wants badly enough to overlook their fears. Patel looks at her hand where moments before she had defied gravity with nothing but her voice and will. What if we offer to teach them? The others turn to her, the techniques, she elaborates. If this voice shaping was once widespread, maybe other species can learn it again. We could position ourselves not as a threat but as teachers, giving away our only advantage. Okafor looks skeptical. Not giving it away, Reynolds says slowly, understanding Patel's strategy. Trading it. Knowledge for security. She nods decisively. It could work out, but only if we prove this isn't unique to humans. We need to find a non-human who can learn voice shaping. In 12 hours? Wade asks incredulously. Reynolds looks at each of them. If we don't, Earth becomes a prison and humanity an endangered species. So yes, in 12 hours, and I know exactly where to start. She activates the communication panel. Request an immediate audience with High Counselor Taloran. Tell them we wish to discuss the Shapers and what humanity remembers of them. Okafor raises an eyebrow. What humanity remembers? We knew nothing about them until today. The Council doesn't know that, Reynolds says with determination. And sometimes, Ambassador, the best diplomatic strategy is a well-crafted bluff. As the others prepare for what might be their last chance to save Earth, Reynolds stares out at the stars, wondering how humanity had carried such power for millennia without recognizing it, and what other secrets might lie dormant within their species, waiting to be awakened. Beyond the viewport, the massive Confederation fleet hangs in formation, their weapon systems more than capable of isolating Earth from the galaxy forever. 12 hours to prevent a disaster. 12 hours to transform humanity's greatest surprise into their greatest asset. The countdown begins. They mocked human sounds, then discovered it was magic part 3 high. Counselor Taloran's private chambers resemble an ancient temple more than a diplomatic office. Stone pillars carved with spiraling symbols rise to a domed ceiling that projects a starfield, not the current galactic configuration, but one from millions of years in the past. The Ancient One sits motionless on a raised platform, compound eyes reflecting the artificial starlight. You claim knowledge of the Shapers, Taloran says, voice resonating with the harmonic patterns of a species that evolved before mammals walked Earth. Yet your world has no records of contact with galactic civilization before your recent emergence. Admiral Reynolds, Ambassador Okafor, and Lieutenant Patel stand before the Ancient One. They had decided to leave Dr. Wade behind to continue his research and to have a scientific mind free if their gambit failed. We don't claim direct knowledge, Reynolds answers carefully. But throughout human history, certain individuals demonstrated abilities that others called supernatural. Abilities we now suspect were early manifestations of voice shaping. Examples, Taloran asks, betraying no emotion. Okafor steps forward. Ancient texts describe holy men who could heal with words, leaders whose speeches could inspire impossible feats, singers whose performances could invoke emotional transformations. We called it charisma or talent or divine blessing, never understanding the quantum effects behind these phenomena. Taloran remains silent for a long moment. And what do you hope to gain by sharing this with me rather than the full council? Understanding, Reynolds says simply. You recognized what we were doing when others saw only a threat. Your species remembers the Shapers. We need to know who they were out and why their abilities now trigger such fear. Taloran rises with unexpected fluidity for such an ancient being. Follow. The Ancient One leads them deeper into the chambers, past artifacts that predate human civilization. They stop before what appears to be a simple stone arch. The Shapers were not a single species, Taloran explains, touching the arch. It illuminates, projecting images of diverse beings, some humanoid, others utterly alien. They were many races who discovered the same fundamental truth, that consciousness, expressed through precisely modulated sound, can directly influence quantum probability. The projection shifts to show magnificent cities, impossible structures that seem to defy physics. Voice shaping created a golden age. Worlds were transformed, suffering diminished. The barriers between thought and reality thinned. Taloran's voice carries something like nostalgia. My ancestors were young then, just beginning to reach for the stars. We learned from the Shapers, though we never mastered their highest arts. What happened to them? Patel asks softly. The projection darkens, showing devastation. Planets cracked open, stars collapsing. Pride, Taloran says simply. Some Shapers began to believe they were gods. They shaped reality according to their whims, competed to demonstrate their power. The most ambitious attempted to reshape the fundamental constants of the universe itself. The Great Collapse, Reynolds whispers. Yes. Entire sectors destabilized. Billions died. The surviving civilizations banned voice shaping entirely, developing technology to dampen vocal resonance among those species that still possessed the capability. Taloran turns to face them. Over millennia, the biological ability atrophied. The knowledge was systematically erased from cultural memory. Until humans appeared, Okafor realizes. Isolated on your world, evolving without the dampening influence of our technologies, You retained what the rest of us lost. Taloran's compound eyes fix on Patel. But you've discovered more than simple voice shaping, haven't you, Lieutenant? Patel starts. I don't know what you mean. I am very old, human. I recognize the signs. You've begun active manipulation. Reynolds and Okafor look at Patel in surprise. It was just small objects, Patel admits. I wanted to understand what was happening. Dangerous, Taloran says, but there's no condemnation in the Ancient One's tone. Yet fascinating. No species has naturally rediscovered these abilities in 90,000 years. This is why Representative Gorn wants Earth quarantined. Reynolds concludes. He fears we'll trigger another collapse. Gorn fears what he cannot control. Taloran corrects. Like many in the Confederation, he believes power must be centralized, regulated. Humans represent unpredictability. We came here seeking help, Reynolds says. In less than 10 hours, the Council votes on whether to isolate Earth from the galaxy. We need a way to prove we're not a threat. Taloran considers this. Perhaps. But first, I must confirm something. The Ancient One turns to Patel. Lieutenant, would you demonstrate your newfound skill? Patel glances at Reynolds, who nods. Taking a deep breath, Patel begins humming softly while focusing on a small decorative stone on a nearby table. The stone trembles, then rises several centimeters into the air. Remarkable, Taloran says. Now observe. The Ancient One emits a series of clicking sounds, and another stone rises to join Patel's. The humans stare in shock. You can do it too. Okafor whispers. The ability was never completely lost among my kind. Taloran explains as both stones gently return to the table, merely discouraged. Hidden away in ancient practices disguised as religious rituals, few remember the true purpose. Reynolds's mind races with possibilities. This changes everything. If your species retained voice shaping, then humans are not unique, Taloran finishes, merely uninhibited. This could indeed shift the Council's perspective. Will you speak at the vote? Okafor asks urgently. I will do more than speak, Taloran says. I will demonstrate. But you must understand. Even with my support, many will still fear what humanity represents. The memory of the collapse runs deep in our collective consciousness. Then we need to offer something beyond reassurance, Reynolds decides. A reason for the Confederation to work with humanity rather than against us. Taloran's head tilts. What do you propose? A partnership? You said your species never mastered the highest arts of voice shaping. What if humans could help rediscover them? Not for destruction, but for creation, healing, exploration. You would share such power? Taloran sounds genuinely surprised. We would share knowledge, Reynolds clarifies. Under appropriate safeguards. Earth joins the Confederation as an equal, not a subject. We help rediscover voice-shaping techniques, while the Confederation helps us understand the responsibilities that come with them. Taloran is silent for several moments. Ambitious, potentially dangerous, yet fitting. The cycle completes out, what was lost returns. The Ancient One nods. I will support this proposal before the Council. But first we must convince others. Gorn's coalition is substantial and they will not be easily swayed. What do you suggest? Okafor asks. A demonstration more significant than floating stones. Something that proves both the potential of voice shaping and humanity's commitment to using it responsibly. Taloran activates a communication device. Nexel, bring Dr. Wade and the Phelan scientist Ziv to my chambers immediately. While waiting, Taloran explains the plan. By the time Wade and the Phelan arrive, accompanied by a clearly curious Nexel, the humans understand what they must do. Counselor, the Phelan scientist Ziv begins, his translucent skin pulsing with neural activity. This is highly irregular, We stand at a crossroads, Ziv, Taloran interrupts. These humans possess an ability that could transform the Confederation commerce for better or worse. Before the Council votes, you should witness its true potential. Wade steps forward. We've prepared a demonstration that requires your participation if you're willing. Ziv's skin flushes with colors indicating skepticism. What kind of demonstration? One that will answer the question that truly matters, Reynolds says. Not whether humans can shape reality with our voices, but whether we're the only ones who can. The next 3 hours are intense. Under Wade and Patel's guidance, Taloran, Nexel, and Ziv practice basic voice-shaping techniques. The Eloran and Phelan struggle initially around their vocal. Structures evolved differently from humans or ancient ones, but gradually begin producing effects. The Key is harmonics combined with focused intent, Patel explains as Ziv attempts to influence a small detector's readings. Your species' natural vocalizations have different patterns, but the underlying principles are universal. Fascinating, Ziv murmurs, membrane vibrating with excitement as the detector responds. Our scientific models never predicted this interaction between consciousness, sound, and quantum fields. Because you separated them, Wade suggests. Treated them as distinct phenomena rather than aspects of a unified system. Nexel, who has shown surprising aptitude, creates a sustained harmonic that causes light to bend visibly around their fingertips. For millennia, we've developed technologies to manipulate reality, all while the ability to do so directly was lying dormant within us. Not dormant, Taloran corrects. Suppressed. First by fear, then by forgetting. As the impromptu training session continues, Reynolds and Okafor refine their proposal for the Council. When Gorn's petition comes to vote, they will need more than Taloran's support. They'll need a compelling alternative that addresses the Confederation's fears while offering something valuable enough to outweigh them. They mocked human sounds. Then discovered it was Magic Part 4. The Council chamber buzzes with tension as representatives from 87 species take their positions. News of the emergency session has spread throughout the station, drawing observers from dozens of embassies and research institutions. The public galleries overflow with diplomats and scientists eager to witness what many believe could be a pivotal moment in Confederation history. Admiral Reynolds and her team stand at the center of the chamber, surrounded by the curved tiers of council seats. Unlike their first appearance, they now share the floor with High Counselor Taloran, Scientist Ziv, and surprisingly, 3 other council members who agreed to participate in their demonstration. Representative Gorn enters last, his massive form flanked by Vorak security officers. His expression darkens when he sees Taloran standing with the humans. This session will now commence, announces the presiding officer, a Tellurian whose gaseous form swirls within an ornate containment suit. We gather to consider Representative Gorn's petition regarding the human delegation and the security implications of their recently discovered abilities. Gorn steps forward, his voice rumbling through the chamber. My petition is simple. The human species possesses capabilities that violated Confederation Security Ordinance 72119. They manipulate fundamental forces without proper regulation or oversight. Their colonies border multiple Confederation sectors, including Vorak space. He gestures to the displays showing the Europa discovery. They have already begun excavating Shaper technology. The risk is unacceptable. Murmurs ripple through the chamber. Reynolds notes with concern how many representatives nod in agreement. I move that Earth and all human settlements be placed under Level 3 quarantine until proper containment protocols can be established. Gorn concludes. For the safety of all Confederation worlds, Level 3 quarantine would mean automated defense platforms surrounding Earth's system, preventing any ship from entering or leaving without Confederation authorization. Humanity would become prisoners in their own solar system. Before the Council votes, Taloran says, voice cutting through the murmurs. The human delegation requests the opportunity to present new information relevant to this decision. The presiding officer nods. Granted. Admiral Reynolds, you may proceed. Reynolds steps forward. Honored representatives, when we first appeared before you, we were accused of concealing weaponized abilities. The truth is simpler but more profound. We didn't know. She activates the central display, showing historical images from Earth and by ancient Greek theaters, medieval cathedrals with perfect acoustics, opera houses, recording studios. Throughout human history, we've created spaces designed to amplify and enhance vocal sound. We built our civilization around voice without understanding its true nature. The display shifts to show the recent training session in Taloran's chambers. What we've since learned is that voice shaping what you call a weapon is not uniquely human. It is a universal potential that most species have simply forgotten. Gasps and exclamations fill the chamber as the recording shows Ziv, Nexil, and the other council volunteers successfully performing basic voice shaping. This is manipulation, Gorn protests. These recordings could be falsified. They are not falsified, Ziv says, stepping forward. His scientific reputation carries weight. I have verified these effects personally. Voice shaping appears to be an ability that can be relearned by most oxygen-breathing species with the proper training. Which brings us to our proposal. Ambassador Okafor continues smoothly. Instead of quarantine, we propose partnership. Earth will join the Confederation under a special research mandate. We will work with your scientists to understand voice shaping, develop safe applications, and establish proper protocols around together. You offer to share what we already forbade, Gorn counters. The danger is not in who possesses these abilities, but in the abilities themselves. With respect, Representative, Wade interjects. That perspective assumes voice shaping can only be destructive. Our preliminary research suggests applications in medicine, environmental restoration, energy generation tools, all without the massive infrastructure your current technologies require. Reynolds watches the council members' reactions. Many seem intrigued, but others remain skeptical. They need something more convincing than theoretical applications. Taloran raises a hand, silencing the chamber. Perhaps a demonstration would be more persuasive than discussion. At this signal, Lieutenant Patel and the 5 council volunteers, who had trained with them, moved to form a circle at the chamber's center. Patel begins a soft humming tone, which the others gradually join, each adding their species' unique vocal patterns to create a complex harmony. Reynolds holds her breath. They had practiced this for hours, but never with an audience of hundreds watching, and judging. The air above the circle begins to shimmer, quantum fields becoming visible as probability waves condense into patterns. The patterns coalesce into a miniature representation of the station they currently occupy, perfect in every detail, hovering and slowly rotating above them. Voice shaping allows direct manipulation of matter and energy at the quantum level, Wade explains as the council stares in amazement. What once required massive particle accelerators or fusion reactors can be accomplished through properly harmonized vocalizations. The demonstration continues as the miniature station transforms, showing potential modifications, WAR's expanded research facilities, new habitation rings, enhanced defense systems, all manifesting through the combined voices of 6 different species working in harmony. Together, Patel says as they conclude the demonstration, the image dissolving into sparkling motes, we can accomplish what none of us could achieve alone. The chamber erupts in excited discussion. Reynolds sees many representatives leaning toward their neighbors, gesturing animatedly. Even some of Gorn's allies appear impressed, but Gorn himself remains unmoved. Parlor tricks, he dismisses. You show us illusions while avoiding the central issue. The structure on Europa is not illusion. It is shaper technology. Dangerous beyond measure. Which is precisely why cooperation is essential, Reynolds counters. That discovery was accidental. There may be other shaper artifacts throughout the galaxy. Would you rather humanity investigate them alone, without Confederation oversight? Or would you prefer we combine our knowledge? A convenient argument, Gorn rumbles. But it changes nothing. The risk remains unacceptable. Taloran steps forward and the chamber quiets. When the Ancient One speaks, even Gorn listens. I have lived 16 human lifetimes, Taloran begins. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have studied the collapse and its aftermath. The Confederation was founded on a principle that has served us well. What cannot be eliminated must be understood and regulated. The Ancient One surveys the chamber. Voice shaping cannot be eliminated. It is inherent to conscious beings with the physical capacity to produce complex sounds. We suppressed this knowledge once, and yet it re-emerged. If we quarantine humanity, we merely delay the inevitable while creating resentment where there could be alliance. You speak of alliance, Gorn challenges, while they speak of power that could threaten us all. All tools can threaten, Taloran responds. All knowledge carries risk. The question before us is not whether voice shaping exists, but how we choose to approach it. With fear, or with wisdom. The debate continues for hours, positions gradually shifting as more council members question Gorn's hardline approach. Reynolds and her team answer countless questions, repeating demonstrations, explaining potential applications. Throughout it all, Reynolds watches the undecided representatives, noting which arguments seem to sway them. Finally, the presiding officer calls for a vote. On Representative Gorn's petition for Level 3 quarantine of all human territories, the Council will now decide. Reynolds holds her breath as the votes are tallied, displayed in real time on the chamber's main screen. The numbers shift back and forth. AOC support for quarantine leads initially, then falls behind as more moderates vote against. The final tally, the presiding officer announces, stands at 42 against quarantine, 38 in favor with 7 abstentions. The petition is rejected. Relief floods through Reynolds, but she maintains her composure. This is only the first hurdle. As the petition has been rejected, the Council must consider alternative measures regarding humanity's status and the discovery on Europa, the presiding officer continues. High Counselor Taloran has submitted a proposal for a joint research initiative. We will now consider this alternative. Taloran's proposal appears on the screen. Zeram, a detailed framework for human integration into the Confederation, combined with strict protocols for voice-shaping research and the investigation of the Europa discovery. Reynolds notes with approval that Taloran has incorporated all their key points while addressing the security concerns raised during debate. This vote passes more decisively, 53 in favor, 27 opposed, with 7 abstentions. The Council has spoken, the presiding officer declares. Earth will be granted provisional Confederation membership pending final ratification. The joint research initiative will begin immediately under the They mocked human sounds. Then discovered it was magic. Part 5. Europa's ice shines like polished marble beneath the Confederation science vessel as it descends toward the research outpost. Through the viewports, Jupiter looms massive and majestic, its swirling storms casting subtle light across the moon's frozen surface. Despite the breathtaking view, Admiral Reynolds finds no peace in the spectacle. Her mind remains fixed on what waits below. Magnificent, isn't it? Taloran stands beside her, ancient eyes reflecting the gas giant. Your species chose well for your first extra-Earth settlement. It chose us, Reynolds corrects. The water beneath the ice made it ideal for resources we needed. We didn't expect to find anything else, the Ancient One nods. Discovery often comes unlooked for. The question is whether we are prepared when it arrives. The ship docks with the research station built into Europa's ice crust. As they disembark, Reynolds notes the increased security, both human and Confederation. News of the discovery has been contained, but its importance is clear from the precautions surrounding it. Their group, consisting of Reynolds and her team, Taloran, Ziv, Nexil, and the Vorax observer Kreller, is met by the station director, Dr. Eliza Bannerman. Her exhausted expression suggests she hasn't slept since the discovery. Admiral, she greets Reynolds with visible relief. Thank God you're here. This situation has escalated beyond anything we're equipped to handle. Bring us up to speed, Reynolds requests as they walk through the station's main corridor. Personnel from a dozen species work alongside humans, monitoring equipment and analyzing data. 3 days ago, a standard mining operation detected an anomalous density reading 2 kilometers beneath the ice sheet. Bannerman explains. Initial scans suggested metallic composition unlike anything in our database. We diverted resources to investigate, expecting a unique mineral deposit. They enter a secure briefing room where holographic displays show the excavation site. What we found, instead, was this. Bannerman activates a detailed projection of the structure. An artificial construct approximately 300 meters in diameter, encased in ice but somehow maintaining an internal temperature above freezing. The architecture matches no known civilization, past or present, except the Shapers, Taloran observes quietly. Bannerman nods. So we've been told. The structure was dormant when discovered, until our survey team began recording vocal notes near what appears to be an entrance. That's when everything changed. The display shifts to show the interior chamber they've managed to access. At its center stands a device unlike anything Reynolds has ever seen. A crystalline structure that seems to fold in on itself impossibly, glowing with inner light that pulses like a heartbeat. It activated the moment human voices reached it. Bannerman continues. Since then, it's been building energy, creating quantum field distortions that our instruments can barely measure. Has anyone attempted voice shaping near the device? Patel asks. Absolutely not. Bannerman looks horrified at the suggestion. After what happened with just normal speech, we've implemented strict silence protocols in the chamber. All communication is text only when in proximity to the device. Reynolds studies the readings. What's your assessment of the risk? Unknown. The energy signatures don't match anything in Confederation records. Bannerman hesitates. But there's something else. The device appears to be transmitting. The room falls silent. Transmitting what? And to whom? Wade asks, leaning forward to examine the data. We don't know. The signal uses quantum entanglement channels we can't decode, but it's definitely reaching beyond our solar system. Bannerman's expression is grim. Whatever this thing is, it's calling someone. Or something. Krell, the Vorax observer who has been silent until now, steps forward. His massive form dominates the room. This is precisely what we feared. A beacon to summon threats from beyond known space. The device must be destroyed immediately. Destroying it could trigger failsafes, Ziv objects, his translucent skin pulsing with agitation. We need to understand its purpose first. Its purpose is clear, Krell rumbles. It seeks to reawaken forces that nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Taloran raises a hand for silence. Speculation serves no purpose. We must observe before acting. The Ancient One turns to Reynolds. Admiral, given the device's response to human voices, I believe your species should lead this investigation with appropriate safeguards. Reynolds nods. Decision made. Dr. Wade, Lieutenant Patella, prepare for a direct assessment. Full isolation protocols, remote monitoring. Ambassador Okafor and I will coordinate from here. I will accompany them, Taloran announces. As will I, Krell insists, hand resting suggestively on what Reynolds recognizes as a Vorax disruptor weapon. Very well, Reynolds agrees, eyes locked with the Vorax. But weapons remain here. We're not risking destabilization of an unknown device. Krell glowers but removes the weapon, placing it on the conference table. I require no technology to defend myself if necessary. 2 hours later, the assessment team, Wade, Patel, Taloran, Krell, and 2 station specialists approaches the chamber containing the Shaper device. They wear specialized environmental suits equipped with communication systems that can be instantly silenced. Reynolds and Okafor monitor from the control center, where Bannerman's team has established a comprehensive sensor array. The tension is palpable as the team enters the chamber. The device dominates the space, its impossible geometry seeming to shift when viewed directly. The ice walls surrounding it have been perfectly preserved, showing intricate patterns that might be decorative or functional, or both. Begin initial scans, Wade directs, his voice coming through the communication system. Non-invasive only, no direct interaction yet. The specialist deploys sensing equipment while Wade studies the device's structure. Patel moves slowly around the perimeter, her expression suggesting deep concentration even behind her helmet visor. Admiral, she says after completing her circuit. I can feel it resonating. It's humming just below the threshold of hearing. Confirmed, Taloran adds. The device emits quantum vibrations that interact with neural tissue. Most pronounced in humans, but detectable by my species as well. Krell maintains his distance, watching with undisguised suspicion. It attempts to influence our minds. This proves the danger. Or it's simply a communication method, Wade counters, reviewing the scan data. These patterns suggest a coherent system was not random energy but organized information. Reynolds leans toward the microphone. Dr. Wade, what's your assessment? Can we attempt controlled voice interaction? Wade hesitates. The energy levels appear stable. If Lieutenant Patel and I attempt basic voice shaping while the others maintain distance, we should be able to gauge its response without triggering a cascading reaction. Reynolds looks to Bannerman, who nods reluctantly. Proceed, Reynolds authorizes. Minimal interaction initially. Taloran, please monitor for any signs of danger. Krell, maintain your position near the exit. Wade and Patel move closer to the device, stopping 3 meters from its perimeter. They remove their helmet communication blockers while keeping their suits sealed. We'll start with a simple harmonic pattern, Wade explains. Nothing complex, just enough to establish whether it truly responds to voice shaping rather than merely human speech. Patel nods, and they begin a basic 2-tone harmony that they've practiced extensively. The effect is immediate. The device's inner light pulses synchronously with their voices, its geometry shifting subtly. Energy levels increasing, reports one of the specialists, but remaining within predicted parameters. The transmission signal is intensifying, Bannerman adds from the control room. Whatever you're doing, it's definitely responding. Wade and Patel maintain the harmony for exactly 30 seconds before stopping. The device continues pulsing for several moments before returning to its previous state. It recognized the pattern, Wade says, excitement clear in his voice. Not just our voices aware the specific harmonic structure. Try another, Reynolds suggests. Something more complex. This time, Patel leads with a three-part harmonic that incorporates the voice-shaping techniques they've developed. Wade joins, adding complementary tones that create quantum resonance patterns visible to the monitoring equipment. The device's response is dramatic. Its light brightens substantially and the impossible geometry begins to unfold, revealing new structures within structures. The walls of the chamber illuminate, the patterns shifting to reveal what appear to be symbols or writing. Recording everything, Bannerman confirms. These symbols match fragments found at other suspected shaper sites across the galaxy. Energy levels approaching threshold alpha, warns a specialist. Recommend pause. Wade and Patel cease their voice shaping. The device continues its transformation for several moments before stabilizing in its new, more open configuration. At its core, something new is visible. A sphere of what appears to be pure energy, suspended in the center of the crystalline framework. It's beautiful, Patel whispers. It's a weapon, Krell insists, moving forward despite orders to maintain his position. This must end now.